This is a replay of Let's Talk Nigeria on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar, making Nigeria better, one conversation at a time.
We talk everything. Health, education, finance, sports, transportation, agriculture, politics,
entertainment,
people and power on Let's Talk Nigeria. Let's Talk Nigeria. Every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Your radio, your shine.
Hello, it's time to talk Nigeria this morning on the Sparkling Morning Show on the Sparkling radio station. And Ukamaka Richard Bassi is still my name. In the last couple of days, the House of Representatives at the Green Chamber, they have been deliberating on a number of bills, about 39 of them. Recall that yesterday we looked at two of the bills that would see a creation or an establishment of a national local government electoral commission that would oversee the conduct and the organizing of election at the local government level in Nigeria. And also the fact that they are also putting out there that both the presidential, the National Assembly, the governorship and the Houses of Assembly elections be held on a single day. That discussion was yesterday. Right, this morning we take on another look at several other bills on the floor of the House of Representatives, and we call it the Focus on the Bills. So today we'll look at about 3 to 4 bills that are also pertinent that Nigerians need to be aware of. And this morning I have a legal practitioner to help analyze the bills that have passed for second reading on the floor of the House of Representatives. Now we have the bills here. You have a bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to make the Court of Appeal and Final Appeal Court in governorship, national and state houses of assembly election petition. Bear in mind that in previous elections, we've seen cases get up to the Supreme Court. We have seen the cases in Imo State in 2019 that saw the emergence of Hope Uzodinma, who took the fourth position and all of that. We've seen several cases get to the Supreme Court and we got different judgment from what the election turnout was. And also another bill that we'll get to look at this morning is the bill for an act to further alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to provide for the determination of all appeals arising from election petition tribunal prior to swearing in of president-elect, vice president-elect, governor-elect, deputy governor-elect, members-elect of the national and state assemblies. Bear in mind that post-election litigations have become a thorn in the flesh of Nigerians in elections that we've seen in Nigeria. And ever since Nigeria's return to democratic rule in 1999, we have seen high rates of election petitions filed at election petition tribunals across the country. We saw that in 2003, 2011, 2015, 2019, and the most recent was in 2023. So this bill has passed for second reading. Another bill that we get to look at this morning is the bill for an act to alter sections 61 subsection 1G and 109 subsection 1G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended to require the official resignation from political party before defection by members of the National Assembly and state houses of assembly. We've seen what we saw in River State, and we saw something like that also here in Cross River State. Good morning to you, Barrister Fred and Zaka. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning to our dear listener.
Okay, so I know you've been following the bills that have been in consideration on the floor of the House of Representatives. Now, let's look at this first one that I mentioned, the bill for an act to alter the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, to make the Court of Appeal the final court in the governorship, national and state houses of assembly election petition. What do you think are the merits of this particular bill?
Well, if you look at the historical evolution of our electoral jurisprudence, you will recall that during the Second Republic in 1979, the Court of Appeal was the court of final appeal on matters of gubernatorial election. In 1999, during the Fourth Republic, the Court of Appeal was still the last court of resort for gubernatorial litigation. Up to 2003 election and 2007 election. But the amendment of the Constitution and Electoral Act of 2010 now activated the Supreme Court to become the final court on determination of the issues of gubernatorial election. And that followed an observation by the public that the Court of Appeal, because it had several jurisdictions across the country, where it is one Court of Appeal but have several divisions, not jurisdiction. It is one single jurisdiction with several divisions of the Court of Appeal. And we found out that each division, in some cases, will give judgment or orders that will be at variance with the judgment or orders of other divisions. And it did not allow for consistency and stability in terms of the orders and the precedents, especially with respect to electoral adjudication. So, in order to cure that in order to cure that challenge, the Supreme Court authority was activated. Of course, the Constitution had already given the Supreme Court the authority at the highest and the apex court in the land, to which all matters arising from the Court of Appeal would finally terminate. Now, the Supreme Court was activated. That was under the leadership of Honorable Justice Aloysius Katsina Alo, the then CJN, and under the leadership of the then President of the Court of Appeal, Honorable Justice Ayo Issa Salami. So, it was the antics of politicians and the issues arising from political litigation, post-election litigation, that activated that Supreme Court authority. And then the Supreme Court now took over as the apex court that will hear appeals arising from Court of Appeal on gubernatorial election issues. But the Court of Appeal still retains its final authority on matters relating to National Assembly and the State Assembly elections. And of course, you know that the Court of Appeal is the court of first instance on matters of presidential election adjudication. The Court of first instance and the Supreme Court acting as the appellate court in matters of presidential election. Okay. So, it is only the governorship election that will go 3 steps presently. The tribunal, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. The presidential election will only go 2 steps, from Court of Appeal to the Supreme Court, while the parliamentary elections at the federal and the state level will go through the tribunal and terminate at the Court of Appeal. Now the members of the House who are now moving all those bills are asking that we'll return back to pre-2007 era, before 2010, 2011, whereby the Court of Appeal will be activated as the court of last instance on gubernatorial election. Whether their the bill is right or not is an academic exercise which will have its merit and its demerit, will have its pros and its cons.
Okay.
And I will tell you as we move on that the present structure as it is, I do not think there is anything wrong with it. What I would rather advocate for is the second leg that you mentioned in your prologue, which requires that all post and the pre-election litigation matters, all matters that have to do with election litigation in court, must be exhausted completely before anybody is sworn in to the office, either as an executive or as a legislator. So that this undue advantage being given to some people to utilize the state or public funds for the protection of his personal electoral mandate will stop. I had long advocated for that, and I am very happy that it is one of the bills that the House of Reps seeks to pass in its effort to amend the Constitution.
All right. Thank you, Barrister Fred. Now, from what you said in summary, is the fact that you would appreciate that for the first bill that we had looked at here, that they maintain status quo instead of wanting to change it. If that's what I understand from what you said.
Absolutely, because there was a challenge, there was a problem that led to the present situation. And if there was a problem and the administration of the Supreme Court may have solved such a problem, there's no need going back. Rather, they should ensure two major critical things in our electoral process. Ensure that the electoral process itself is clean and well done. And that is the responsibility of INEC and other critical stakeholders to conduct a very credible election. And after the conduct of very credible election, anybody who now felt that he has to pursue his rights in the court will now go to court. And all litigation and all the court processes must be concluded and terminated before anybody is sworn in. And the timeline, the current timeline, will still be maintained without torpedoing the process of governance. Because in governance, there cannot be a lacuna, there cannot be a stopgap, there cannot be an unfilled space in time. So while we maintain the timelines, we must also ensure that all litigations are completed before swearing in. And I'll tell you that if we do that, we would have solved the problems more than 60 to 70%.
Okay. All right. Thank you so far, Barrister Fred and Zako. Nigerians, Crossovarians, feel free to be part of this conversation this morning, and let's hear what you think about this, because a time will come when it will require public hearing on these bills. They've already passed second reading, and they are going through all the stages on the floor of the House of Representatives. 0812-723-7060 or 009-230-0022. Now let's look at the second bill, which is to ensure that all litigations, post-election litigations, all of them are done with before swearing in. Now, Barrister, our elections in Nigeria happen in February, if I'm not mistaken. I think last year, 2 years ago, in 2023, we saw the presidential and the National Assembly in February, and then the governorship and houses of assembly in March. Right, so within these 2 months, elections have been conducted. And if because yesterday they were also deliberating to have the elections hold on a single day. So if eventually that particular bill sees the light of the day and they decide that all the elections are held in a single day, now the swearing in is usually on May. Do you think that the court would have enough time to look at all of the issues arising from the conduct of the election, all of the litigations on the table within this short period of time before inauguration or before these elected officers are given take the oath of office?
Well, what will happen is that once we have adopted that as a constitutional provision, in which case that all litigations must be concluded, it's not only post-election, because there are also some pre-election matters. And those of them, the difference is that the pre-election matters start from the High Court, whereas the post-election matters start from the tribunals. So, but the ones that start from the High Court will now move up to the Supreme Court, the pre-election matters. And then the post-election matters that start from the tribunal are the ones that some of them will end at the Court of Appeal and some will move up to the Supreme Court. So what will now happen is that once we have adopted this in principle, then the electoral timetable will have to change. Instead of holding the election in February and swearing in some people that were declared victorious in May, then we will now change the electoral timetable that election can hold a year before the swearing in. You can hold the election 1 full year before swearing in which case the tribunal will still have 6 months to hold its sittings. The Court of Appeal will have 3 months to look at the appellate situation, and the Supreme Court will have also 3 months to look at its own. And in that case, if we now say that the gubernatorial elections will end at the Court of Appeal, then it now starts making sense, because we have tried to solve the problem from the board, from the foundation. So what is important is that we agree first in principle on what is best for the country, and then we now work out the modalities. The issue of the timing and the timetable of election lies in the modalities of implementation. And INEC will only, once it is agreed, INEC will now adjust its timetable. The Electoral Act will be adjusted and amended. Some places where the Act requires 3 months for certain actions to take place, they will appropriately be adjusted in line with the new realization and in line with the new policy, whereby all litigations will be ended. So it's a whole gamut of amendments that will not only affect the Constitution, but also affect the Electoral Act. But it is not insurmountable. Most critical thing and most important thing is that we first agree in principle and then we work out the modalities. So that wouldn't be a problem at all.
Okay. 0812-723-7060 or 009-230-0022. Do you agree or do you support the motion that all election litigation should be concluded before swearing in, so that maybe the courts decide who, at the end of the day, who becomes either the president or the members of the National Assembly or the governors, as the case may be in terms of the litigations? Are you in support of that or not? Please do want to call in this morning and be part of the conversation. And also on the first bill that we looked at on ensuring that only the Court of Appeal becomes the final court that hears issues around governorship election and State House of Assembly election. Now, moving on to the other one, which is for the official... Okay, let me take it the way it is here. A bill for an act to alter sections 68 subsection 1G and 109 subsection 1G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, to require the official resignation from political party before defection by members of the National Assembly and State Houses of Assembly. Barrister, we've seen cases where people will just wake up and just resign or just defect without doing the proper thing. Do you think that this particular bill would address all of those issues, all of those irregularities?
I do not think that section. I've looked at it, and section 68, subsection 1G, has to do with issue of defection. by a member of the National Assembly. Whereas section 109, subsection 1G, has to do with defection by a member of the State Assembly. And they proposed the requirement that one has to first resign from the political party before defection. Really has no effect, because resigning from a political party is not a big deal. All you need to do is to wake up and write your party and say you are no longer a member. And nobody will force you, because political parties are associations of free mind with free entry and free exit, anchored on the fundamental right of the citizen of freedom of association. It is that freedom of association that drives the free entry and free exit of citizens into and out of any political party. So to resign from a political party is not a big deal. You can wake up this morning and say you are no longer a member of a political party. All you need to do is to write the party and say you are no longer a member. What has led the parliamentarians to think in that direction is, I believe, because of what recently transpired in Rivers State, where some members defected and only to come back to claim that they did not defect. So the parliamentarians are now feeling that if they had written a letter to their political party asking that they are no longer a member, that they have resigned from their party before defecting on the floor of the parliament, that they wouldn't have the opportunity anymore to resign their defection or to deny their defection, which became an issue and an issue of controversy. And some people are feeling that they are beginning to claim that part of the ways of resigning from defecting from a political party is to write to the party. But then they defected in public glare. They also swore to an affidavit of defection. So, but with benefit of hindsight now, some House of Lords who are proposing this bill now feel that if they had resigned officially before defection, then the back and forth will not have taken place. But I can tell you that still does not stop that provision of the Constitution that requires that if a member is defecting, such a member will lose the seat automatically. And if there are reasons for such defection as provided in the Constitution, in the same section that talks about defection, which is if there is serious issue with the political party, whereby the party is either a couple or is being sectionalized.
Okay.
But I tell you that amendment is not one that can worry the politics.
All right. Thank you so far, Barrister Fred and Zako. Thank you for analyzing these bills. We need to step back, pay some bills, yes. When we return, we'll continue with Let's Talk Nigeria this morning. And also, when we come back, feel free to call in and make your contributions. Stay with us, please.
Coming right back. Just grabbing more chips and salsa.
Sparkling 92.3 FM, Calabar.
There is something missing in the world today.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Do you love a clean and healthy environment? Then do your part. Stop littering. Always dispose of your waste properly using the designated waste bins and receptacles. Remember, the right time to dispose of your waste is from 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. Please note that anyone found disposing waste inappropriately outside the time recommended or sending underage children to dispose waste will be arrested by the task force set up by the Cross River State government. Let's work together to keep our streets clean and fresh. This message is brought to you by the Calabar Urban Development Authority keeping Cross River clean and green.
This is a replay of Let's Talk Nigeria on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar, making Nigeria better, one conversation at a time.
Calabar's number one music, sport, and talk radio. Let it hit on.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Sparkling 92.3 FM.
We talk everything. Health, education, finance, sports, transportation, agriculture, politics,
entertainment,
people and power. On Let's Talk Nigeria. Let's Talk Nigeria. Every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Your radio, your shine.
Welcome back, thank you. And it's still Let's Talk Nigeria on the Sparkling Morning Show. Let's hear what you think about the bills that we have analysed so far. 0812-723-7060 or call 009-230-0022. There are about 42 of these bills that have been considered and have passed for second reading on the floor of the House. Hello, good morning to you.
Kamaka, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Who's the councillor?
Go ahead, please.
Okay, let me make my own contribution on the three items that were presented this morning. If I should start with the issue of parliamentarians defecting by writing their political parties, I think the Electoral Act has taken care of that on procedure of leaving a party and how to join a party. Just like the lawyer said, even in a marriage, if you are dissatisfied with what is happening in your marriage, the law gives you an opening to even leave, regardless of a political party. And if I should go to what the Electoral Act said, there are procedures. You must first of all write to your party that you are leaving, because you can't be in two political parties at the same time. You must first write to your former party that you are leaving. Then you now go to your ward and enlist in the new party and receive a card or whatever, a slip or whatever. You now write to the clerk of the house, informing the clerk that you are leaving your former party, and the speaker will read it in the floor that this person has defected. At that point, you have to move from either the opposition or the major party to the other side. That is when defection is concluded, according to the Electoral Act. So I don't think there's any need to waste time in deliberating by the National Assembly about defection, because the Electoral Act has already given us a condition and procedure for leaving and joining the political party.
Okay.
If I should go on the other one,
all right, you can call back again. Let's hear other people then. Yes. Okay, we have from Nemeka. Nemeka says, good morning. I'm in support of the bill. When the bill is passed, it will eliminate... Okay, there are interruptions here. It will eliminate... I'll take this message after, then I'll come back to the calls. It will eliminate distractions to the government in power, reduce the spending of funds. Okay. Thank you very much, Nemeka. I will go back to your messages, but we need to take some calls. 0812-723-7060 or 009-230-0022. Hello, good morning. Hello. All right, please do well to call us back, and if you're not able to call in, you can use a voice note on WhatsApp and also send in your messages on WhatsApp and to the SMS platform this morning while we try to reconnect with our guest this morning to continue with this conversation. But let's also hear what you think, what you make of these bills that we have, looked at this morning. And if you're in support of them, do you think they are going to make any difference to what we have already on ground? Barrister Fred, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
All right, thank you very much for joining us back. Now, another bill here that a lot of Nigerians have reacted to is the bill to seeking to strip vice president, governors, deputy governors of immunity, and it has passed for second reading of the House of Representatives. And I recall someone saying on the program earlier today that in no democracy that we've seen any president lacking immunity. And some Nigerians are saying if there's a move to strip vice presidents, governors, and deputy governors of immunity, what happens to the presidents?
Well, the question is it necessary to strip the governors, the vice president, the deputy governors of immunity? That is a critical question. Is it necessary? For what purpose? What do we intend to achieve? Proponents of such bill are of the opinion that stripping them of immunity will enhance the fight against corruption
and against abuse of office.
And abuse of office. Then the question is, if you strip them of immunity, what of the greater abuse of office and the unnecessary distractions that will not allow them to work? It is obvious that our political culture has not developed to that level where integrity and respect for rule of law will be uppermost. As present, the current political structure is such that it's very deep in selfishness, very deep in exclusivity, and very deep in protection of political interest over and above the interest of the society. Let me give you an example. If you strip a governor of immunity and the governor is of a different political extraction with the president, and the president now decides to keep harassing the governor using the instrumentalities of state coercion. Let's say, for example, the EFCC or the ICPC or even the police. Because in the absence of immunity, even the police can harass the governor and then drag him to court. So, and can you imagine the kind of political environment that will be created if there is no immunity for governors and deputy governors? And of course, you know that anything, the governor and deputy governor they run on the same ticket. So whatever happens to the governor naturally and automatically happens to the deputy. And if the president will enjoy immunity, why would the vice president, who ran on the same ticket with the president and who will take over the reins of governance in the absence of Mr. President, why would the vice president not enjoy equal immunity? So I think that particular bill is merely a populist bill that is meant to whip up positive emotions for the parliament, so that they feel that the public will like that, even when they know that the bill will not survive. I can tell you that the bill will not survive because it will be shut down by the various houses of assembly and will not be accented to, even if it succeeds, it will not be accented to by the president. So I think it's a mere waste of time. Out of all the 39 or 42 amendments that they seek to bring on board, some of them will amount to unnecessary waste of time. And I will urge them to sieve and remove the chaff from the wheat and ensure that the ones that are very critical towards our development, national political development and economic development will be the one that will be encouraged, whereas those ones that will amount to waste of time will be expunged.
Okay. 08127237060 or 0809-230-0022. Take to WhatsApp and drop your contributions and also send it on our message platform what you think about the bills that we are analyzing this morning. And part of the message sent by Nemeka, which the cause did not allow me to read all, It says it will eliminate distractions to the government in power, reduce the spending of funds meant for meaningful development, and give them the time to concentrate on running the government. Okay, we have another message here. This one is from F. Young. F. Young from Abana Peninsula. Please, I want to ask, why is election not held in Abana again? I can remember 2015 we were voting. I don't understand again. Abana Peninsula, I think it's somewhere around Bakassi if I'm not mistaken. We'll get to look at that. That's a critical concern. But thank you very much, F. Young, for sending in your message this morning. We'll get to look at that. Really, really serious matter here. 0812-723-7060 or 009-230-0022. Now, Barrister Fred, I'd like you to help me understand this, because the long title of this particular legislation, the proposed one, it reads, a bill for an act to alter the constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 to qualify the immunity conferred on the president, remove immunity conferred on the vice president, the governors and the deputy in order to curb corruption, eradicate impunity and enhance accountability in office and for related matters. What does that mean to qualify in the legal sense?
Well, to qualify may mean to not to give absolute immunity, in which case minimize immunity. Possibly it may be given immunity from criminal prosecution, but will not be given immunity from investigation. And so that the president, even while in office, can be investigated by the appropriate agencies, even though he may not be dragged to court on the criminal litigation. That is what they mean by qualified immunity. That is limited immunity that is not absolute, not complete immunity. As of now, he has complete immunity. You cannot investigate him, neither will you take him to court on both civil and criminal matters, or on any matters whatsoever and howsoever. You can sue the federal government as an institution, but you cannot sue Mr. President as an individual. That is the meaning of that.
Okay, if I understand clearly, you can sue his office, like the office of the president, not the president as the individual.
As an individual. You cannot sue the president as an individual, but you can sue the federal government. Most times, because once you sue Mr. President, you are suing the federal government. So, he will be represented by the Attorney General of the Federation, who is the Chief Law Officer of the Federation, that represents the federal government. In any case that you that involve the state government, the state government will be represented the State Attorney General. So, but the governor who enjoys immunity cannot go to court, cannot be sued on both personal, civil or criminal matter, however and whatsoever.
Okay. All right, thank you for helping us make sense of that, because the legal terminologies can be quite confusing sometimes. 0812-723-7060 or 009-230-0022. We have been analyzing the bill so far, and just like Barrister Fred said, some of them at the end of the day might not see the light, while others might see the light. Let's see from the court of public opinion if this particular one, I don't know if it will see the light, but I think the one that has to do with concluding all of the litigation issues before swearing in, it might see the light of the day, except there are interests that might want to, expunge that or ensure that is swept under the carpet. But another bill here, what we have here is Let me read it the way it's been said. The alteration of the 1999 Constitution as amended to provide for the public disclosure of reports of the Auditor General for the Federation and the Auditor General for the state through publication in the mass media. Now, according to them, when this is passed into law, the bill will address the time frame for the submission of audited report of ministries, departments, and agencies by the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation to the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation and their respective counterparts at the subnational level. Barrister, these are really high-sounding things, right? But how does this in any way benefit Nigerians? How does it move us forward as a country?
Well, the bill seeks to further publicize the reports, the audited reports of the account of the Federation and the account of the state. Usually, when such audit is done, the challenge we now have as at present is that the audits are not done as they are supposed to be. They are not done regularly and timeously. You recall that NNPC in the heat of the issues around the NNPCL, it was exposed that for almost 10 years or thereabouts, the account of the NNPC was not audited. Now, the other ministry, departments, and agencies of the government don't get their account audited as required by law. The accounts are supposed to be audited every year. The same way that you present budget every year, you have to audit the account every year, because the auditing of the account will reflect how the budget that was signed into law was implemented, what was spent and what was not spent, and on what was on what issues and on what projects were a certain amount of money spent. So the audit ordinarily is supposed to come annually. But you find out that when the budgets come annually, the audits don't. And further the audit report, the bill seeks to make it more public by ensuring that it's published in national dailies so that it will be available to everybody. But we know that the audits, when done, are usually published in government gazette. But the challenge is that the gazette are not regularly available to the people. You don't buy gazette openly in the market except you go to a specific government office or ministry to buy the gazette. And a lot of Nigerians don't have that kind of drive or interest or time to go and buy gazettes. And that makes now the government office that publishes the gazette will now publish very minimal quantity such that they will minimize wastages on account of the fact that if you publish so many, they will not be bought by Nigerians. Except even if you will say, let the gazette be distributed freely, many Nigerians will still not be interested in reading it. The same way they will read newspapers. And that is why the bill seeks to ensure that when such audit is done, that it should be published in the national daily so that it will be brought to the doorsteps of most Nigerians. And these days that newspapers are online, then it can also be online, accessed online. Well, to some extent, I think as much as it is a harmless bill, but I think that it is more important to ensure that the audit is done and done timeously and regularly. It's more important to do that and make it a lot easier for people to have access, even if it is by way of getting the gazette as gazetted. But you cannot gazette nothing when there is no audit. So I think as a first step is to ensure that audit is done of MDAs, ministry, departments, and agencies of government. And once the such audit is done, then it will be made available to the public. I don't think it is anything wrong to do that. But I think that it is more critical to ensure that the audit is done and then done regularly.
Okay. Thank you very much, Barrister Fred Nzako, for your time this morning, helping us to make sense of all of these bills. From what we know, they have passed through second reading. We'll be following to see how the bills graduate from one stage to the other. But so far, thank you.
Many thanks.
All right. So yes, Nigerians, Barrister Fred Nzako has been able to help us make sense of this. But let's hear more of your contributions. If you have more to share, 0812-723-7060 or 009-230-0022. We've looked at several bills that are in consideration on the floor of the House. Hello.
Good morning, Kamaka.
Good morning to you.
This is UB Furniture.
UB, go ahead.
Maybe the newspaper review, from Ododoro, he said that most of these bills, especially the one that we make sure that the immunity will stop from the governor and the vice president, we will not see the light of the day. I support it because anything that will affect our politicians, that will not make them to have more money, they will not support that bill. But the one that I like very well in that very bill is the one that will make sure that before you become from any political party, you must write to the people that you're supposed to write to. Like what is happening in River State now. Like so people resign from their office, swear affidavit, but at the end of the day, they come out and say that they did not resign. They are still a member of PDP. So those are the things that we, the citizens, we are finding to put an end. Because these politicians, they only look for a way for something that will benefit them. And we, the citizens, we are not happy over it. Because that place that you was elected to be there.
Okay.
It's not your father's office. It's not your heritage. So anything that will not favor them, we are supporting it that it should not favor them. Because they are not only the people that is in Nigeria. We too, we are in Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, thank you, UB Furniture, for your contributions this morning. We all are waiting to see. We're hoping that that particular bill that will see the conclusion of all election litigations before swearing in of either the president, the governors, the National Assembly members, and the state houses of assembly members. We want to see that bill scale through the end and also have the National Assembly pass it and an assent from the president. Hello.
Hello, good morning. This is Madam Eno calling from Kalwa Municipality.
Go ahead, please.
Please, I'm in support of the bill that says that all matters concerning the election should be concluded before swearing in. It's a good one. I support it. And concerning the issue of immunity from governors, I tell you the truth, most of these governors come hide under immunity and do a lot of things, embezzle funds and all that. So if immunity is removed from it, I mean they will sit up and work to please the people. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Eno, for your contributions. 0812-723-7060. Nigerians, what do you think about this? And we have a message here. This one is from Ferdinand. Good morning. A call is coming in. I'll take the call first, Ferdinand, and then I'll come back to your message, I promise. Hello?
Ukamaka, good morning.
Good morning to you. Mr. Charles?
Yes. I'm very quiet. I'm just watching the drama.
Yes, you have been quiet.
Ukamaka, I'm not being pessimistic, but I want just from a realistic point of view. Nigeria is ours to build, and Nigeria is also ours to destroy. No matter what bills they pass, this country will still be run by Nigerians. And whatever bill they pass will depend on how they are implemented, how they are put into practice. So you can pass all these bills, but Nigerians in office can still make nonsense of it. That is my problem. For example, I give you one example. We know that people have to declare their assets before they get into public offices. But when they are leaving public offices, are they not supposed to declare as well? How come our politicians or our office holders are so wealthy? Do they really check their wealth that they had before entering office? Do they check when they are leaving? It makes no sense to check when somebody is entering an office if you are not going to check when the person is leaving. So we need to implement. It's not just to put it on paper. We need to practice this thing. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Charles. I think this is the last call we will take, but I'll read that message from Ferdinand and we call it to wrap. But there's so much sense in what you said. We have a lot of beautiful bills in Nigeria, several laws in Nigeria. What we need is proper implementation. We need honest implementation of these bills. This one is from Ferdinand. He says, lawyers worldwide are meant to defend the poor from the rich that forcefully want to seize the poor man's property. In today's Nigerian lawyers are for the rich to subdue the poor. Okay. And subdue the right of Mr. Nobody. I'm sorry I won't be able to take more calls because we're clearly out of time from our time here in the studio. But thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Charles said something. Nigeria is all ours to build. And if we don't do what we need to do, we might just find out that we are unintentionally, indirectly destroying Nigeria. But that shouldn't be the case. We have laws. We should adhere to the laws. If we are a people who believe in the rule of law, who believe in democracy, we should make laws for the betterment of the people and ensure that these laws are implemented not just to benefit a select few, but for the generality of all Nigerians. This is where we draw the curtain this morning on this edition of the Sparkling Morning Show. Thank you for allowing us to be your companion. Thank you for allowing Majesty and myself to be the voices that you heard this morning on your darling station. See you again tomorrow for another beautiful time on radio. Okamaka Richard Bassi is my name. God bless you.
Number one. Music, sport, and talk radio. Let it hit on.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Sparkling 92.3 FM. Just relax.
Hey, what's up, love? Radio sounds better.
Radio sounds better.
I love it. You guys are so great.
With Sparkling FM 92.3.